Motion number 4 on business of the House today. Minister to move.
Move formally.
The question is as on the order paper. The question is as on the order paper. As many as are of that opinion say aye. Aye. Of the contrary, no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. We now come to the 3 motions on export and investment guarantees. I will call the Minister to move the first motion and speak to all 3 motions together. At the end of the debate, I will put the question on the first motion and we will then take the remaining 2 motions formally. I now call the Minister to move the first motion. Minister Gareth Thomas.
Madam Deputy Speaker, I beg to move that the export and investment guarantees limit on exports and insurance commitments Order 2024 and subsequent orders number 2 and number 3, all laid in this House on the 14th of October, be approved. These orders are technical in nature and relate to the capacity of UK Export Finance, which is the operating name of the Export and Credit Guarantees Department, the UK's export credit agency, to support current and prospective exporters. As honourable and right honourable members will know, UK Export Finance has a mandate to support UK exporters with finance and insurance, helping them to compete internationally. UK Export Finance, or UKEF for short, was established more than 100 years ago and is the world's oldest export credit agency. Its support has proved crucial to British exporters throughout its existence. UKEF helps exporters to win international contracts, to fulfil export orders, to create jobs and to get paid. Last year it provided some £8.8 billion in finance to support UK exporters and supported up to 41,000 jobs around the UK as a result. 88% of businesses it supported last year were SMEs. UKEF provides its finance at no net cost to the taxpayer, and in fact it generates a return for the Exchequer, with £705 million returned to the Treasury over the last 3 years. The Export and Investment Guarantees Act 1991, as amended in 2015, confers powers on the Secretary of State to provide finance that is conducive to exports and to provide insurance in connection with overseas investments. These powers are exercised and performed through UKEF. Subject to some limited exceptions, Section 6, Subclause 1 of the Act imposes a limit on the aggregate amount of financial commitments that can be made under these powers, or in other words, the total size of UKEF's financial portfolio. At present, this limit stands at £67.7 billion, expressed in special drawing rights. Special drawing rights are an accounting unit for international transactions created by the IMF, and their value is based on a grouping of 5 major currencies, including pound sterling, the US dollar and the euro. The sum equates to approximately £70 billion at today's exchange rates. Why are we seeking this increase, Madam Deputy Speaker? Well, the current limit has been in place since 2015, and UK Export Finance's portfolio size is now drawing close to it. Were UKEF to reach its limit, it would mean that it would have to pause its vital financing activity, in turn cutting off its support to prospective exporters. I should note that in practice the size of UKEF's portfolio is subject to a limit set by the Treasury. This limit, called the maximum commitment limit, must be lower than the statutory limit set out in legislation. I am therefore proposing these statutory instruments to increase the commitment limit at Section 6, Subclause 1, and avoid the future risk of having to turn away applications for UKEF support. Section 6 of the Act also enables the Secretary of State by order to increase or further increase this limit by up to £5 billion. The power to make such an order may be exercised on up to 3 occasions and has not been used before. I am therefore seeking approval of these 3 orders together, which would allow for an increase in UKEF's statutory commitment limit by £5 billion per order, for a total of £15 billion. Inflation since the limit was last amended and the increasing transaction sizes that the Department is supporting mean that the Department is now approaching that legal limit. Laying these SIs together is about future-proofing UKEF and giving it sufficient legal capacity to provide certainty for its customers. And again, it is a decision for Treasury Ministers to then confirm the actual commitment limit under which the Department operates. After they have come into force, the three instruments taken together would increase the commitment limit to £82.7 billion special drawing rights, which converts to around £84 billion at today's exchange rates. UK Export Finance is delivering an ambitious 5-year business plan that aligns with this government's missions, supporting growth and prosperity for UK exporters and their communities across the country, and doing so at no net cost to the taxpayer. But its ability to do so will be at risk without the additional legal headroom which these instruments provide. These changes will therefore allow UK Export Finance to continue meeting its mandate in supporting exports and driving growth, something that I'm sure all sides of the House will join me in welcoming. I commend these orders to the House.
The question is the first motion on item 5 as on the order paper. I call Dame Harriett Baldwin.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. And can I start by saying exporting is great. And UK Export Finance, as the Minister just outlined, has done a tremendous job over many, many decades in supporting great British exporters. And so we support these changes to the export and investment guarantees that are put forward in these measures today. As the Minister said, last year we financed £8.8 billion in export support, and that helped 650 UK companies to fulfil their potential by growing their overseas sales. What I would like to probe today, though, Madam Deputy Speaker, is the government's attitude towards exports, because I would in particular like to hear the Minister put on record his support for free trade at this time in the world. We are now in the enviable position as the UK that almost 50% of our products can now be exported tariff-free, thanks to the tireless work done under the previous government to increase the number of markets that our exporters had access to. That compares to the EU figure of some 27%. Raising the level of exports to a target of £1 trillion would be truly tremendous for the growth of this country. It supports higher skilled jobs, it raises profitability, it raises productivity, and it raises tax contributions. So in the view of this side of the House, the government cannot do enough to support the growth of exports. In terms of specific policies, I'll take this opportunity to ask the Minister about, will he be continuing with the previous government's programme of having trade envoys around the world, helping with the export connections for our exporters? And can I ask if the government is planning to take forward the previous government and previous Trump administration discussions as far as a free trade agreement with the US is concerned? And will the government be taking forward the work that was done at the state-by-state level in terms of increasing trade access for UK exporters into US states? Turning to the specific measures in front of us today, can I ask the Minister if he did consider amending the legislation itself so that the possibility exists in the future to increase resources by more than the 5,000 million special drawing rights that are currently covered by the legislation? The previous Act says that this mechanism can only be used 3 times, so I wondered what provisions the Minister has in mind for the next time they want to increase support to exporters through UK EF. As far as other export initiatives are concerned, can the Minister confirm that the Exporting is Great campaign and the Great campaign generally is something that he will continue to support from the incredibly good feedback that it tends to get around the world? And lastly, can he confirm that he will remain on the side of our exporters, on the side of our wealth creators, on the side of the many businesses across this country that do so much to raise the prosperity of the United Kingdom?
call the Liberal Democrat spokesperson, Clive Jones.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. Boosting British exports, especially for our small businesses, is vital for creating jobs, economic growth, and absolutely must be a strategic priority for the government. This secondary legislation is a welcome step forward, and it gives UK Export Finance the opportunity to grow their portfolio of projects to help deliver for businesses across the whole country. This will be very important to my Wokingham constituents, because Wokingham is one of the best places in the country to do business, and the government should continue to help unlock our growth. We ranked 15th out of all 362 local authorities for competitiveness. Between 2017 and 2021, the gross value added per filled job vacancy was 23.5%. This is significantly faster than the rest of Berkshire and the South East. And my constituency has great examples in which the government supported programmes delivered success, like M2M Pharmaceuticals, who won a National King's Award for Enterprise this year. Tomorrow I'm visiting Intersurgical, another great success story for Wokingham business, which designs and manufactures and supplies medical devices. It has grown from 7 people in 1982 to upwards of 3,500 employees worldwide, and exports their products globally. I'm sure they are deeply concerned about the impact of the budget on maintaining their profitability, and I look forward to hearing from them about what more government needs to do to support their success. But there certainly is more that should be done for British exporters and improving Britain's trade policy. To start, the government needs to urgently fix our broken relations with the EU and foster closer cooperation with our largest trading partner, the European Union. To cut vast swathes of red tape and trade barriers that are holding back our businesses. For example, by urgently negotiating a veterinary and plant health agreement with the EU to reverse the decline in British agri-food exports since 2019, and securing bespoke mutual recognition agreements for Britain's engineers, architects, lawyers and accountants. These deals would help British business from a variety of sectors to secure greater opportunities to export. Because the trade associations I've met have made one thing overtly clear: the impact of Brexit is hurting their profits, and we need to fix this mess. On trade, I hope that this government does not follow the Conservative Party's approach of desperately negotiating trade deals, which led to weak negotiating effort, and you can see it in the results. The Conservatives failed to guarantee British standards on animal welfare and environmental protection in trade deals at a especially difficult time for the agriculture sector, such as the Australia trade deal, which the former Tory DEFRA Secretary described as not actually a very good deal. Parliament never gets a proper say on our trade deals, eliminating the opportunity to stop the government from barrelling ahead with deals that are deeply unpopular. I respect the Minister greatly. There's a lot to get right and a lot to fix from the previous government. Therefore, I ask the Minister if he will meet with me and Wokingham businesses like Bexpert, who are currently struggling to secure UK export finance, to hear what they need from his department. Can he set out to the House what specific forms of scrutiny we will get when the government concludes the trade deal? and will his department renegotiate the Australia and New Zealand trade agreements?
Minister.
Madam Deputy Speaker, thank you very much for the opportunity to close this debate. And let me, at the outset, thank the Right Honourable Lady for West Worcestershire and the Honourable Gentleman for Wokingham for their comments and questions. Let me try and answer their questions now, before I just say some final remarks about the actual statutory instruments before the House. The Right Honourable Lady who leads for the opposition asked me specifically, does the UK government support fair and free trade? And let me take this opportunity to reconfirm our commitment absolutely to support fair and free trade. We have made very clear that trade is one of the key planks of the work of the department going forward. My ministerial colleague, the Minister for Trade, is leading work on a trade white paper, reporting to the Secretary of State on that, and we will bring forward that in due course. But I'm sure she will see in that the government's commitment to fair and free trade reflected in that document. We, as she knows, we on this side of the House, when we were sat where she is now sat, supported accession to CPTPP. We're also working to agree a number of free trade deals, for example, with Switzerland, with India, with South Korea, going forward. She asked me specifically about the trade envoys programme, and we are sympathetic to such a programme continuing. We're looking at it closely, as you would expect, and we'll bring forward an update to the House in due course. She asked me about what our view of trade with the United States is, and let me be clear: we recognise that for many British firms who are already exporting, that the US is a key market, and we will want to look at all opportunities we can do to increase trade with the US. On legislative reform more generally, I'll come back to that in a moment. But she is absolutely right to underline the message that we have to be on the side of wealth creators in this country if we want to see growth across our country, if we want to see more jobs and better pay for those in our communities in jobs. And exporting and winning export orders is fundamental to that process of delivering growth. So a substantial amount of time in the department is being spent thinking through what else we can do to support British businesses to win export orders overseas. UK export finance is one part of that story. It's not the only part of that story, but we'll bring forward plans in that course. Happy to give way to the Honourable Lady.
On that point, if I may, Madam Deputy Speaker, thank the Minister for giving way. I understand last week that Crawford Falconer, who had been in charge of a lot of the trade negotiations, is leaving the department. Could the Minister tell the House what his plans are to fill that role? Minister.
Well, let me pay tribute firstly to Crawford Falconer's work for the department and for the country in that sense too. He has already fed into the work that Minister Alexander, my colleague, is leading on the trade white paper. There are others in the department actively leading on negotiations with a number of countries in support of free trade, our free trade negotiations and our ambitions for new, free and fair trade agreements going forward. She asked me specifically whether there is a need for further legislative reform around UK export finance. And I should take this opportunity to help to tell the House that the Secretary of State has instructed UKF officials to explore how we can increase UKF's overall financial capacity. This work is underway. We are committed to ensuring that UKEF can support British exporters now and into the future, but these statutory instruments are key in the short and medium term to helping UKEF continue to do its job going forward. The Honourable Gentleman for Wokingham gives me the opportunity to plug International Trade Week, which is taking place this week, and I'm glad to see that he at least has taken the advice that I wrote out to every member of the House, encouraging them to reach out to exporters in their constituencies to both to support them in what they're doing already and to make them aware of further support that the UK government might be able to give them to help them to win new export orders overseas. One message that we have been seeking to get across during International Trade Week is that we are absolutely committed to a reset in our trade relationship with the European Union. There is no doubt that the poor quality trade deal with Europe, which the party opposite negotiated, has held many British businesses back from winning export orders in Europe. And we need both to reset the trade relationship with Europe in very practical terms. We're committed, for example, to negotiating an SPS agreement, to exploring more opportunities to deliver mutual recognition of professional qualifications, and see the TCA review that takes place next year as an opportunity again to look at what we can do to reduce some of the difficulties businesses do face in trading with our nearest neighbours. But the party opposite talked down the opportunities for British businesses to win export orders in our nearest overseas markets. We think that was a huge mistake. Businesses have told us it was a huge mistake, and we're actively looking at what we can do to change that round at the moment. So if the Honourable Gentleman gives any message to the company that he's visiting tomorrow, do please encourage them to look again at Europe, recognise there are difficulties, want to work with business to sort those difficulties out, but we do genuinely believe that there are real opportunities going forward. He's asked me specifically as well whether I would meet with him and with Wokingham businesses. I'd be very happy to do so, and in that spirit, Madam Deputy Speaker, I commend these orders to the House.
The question is the first motion on item 5 as on the order paper. As many as are of that opinion say aye.
Aye.
Of the contrary, no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. We now come to the second motion on item 5. Minister to move formally.
I beg to move.
The question is the second motion on item 5 as on the order paper. As many as are of that opinion say aye.
Aye.
Of the contrary, no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. We now come to the third motion on item 5. Minister to move formally.
I beg to move.
The question is that the third motion on item 5 as on the order paper. As many as are of that opinion say aye.
Aye.
Of the contrary, no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it.